Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and today it's time for another first look. Something really unusual for me, namely a simulation game. Automation, the Car Company Tycoon Game. Right now it is still in early access and not so much of a tycoon game rather than a engine and car building game. And within time there will also be a campaign mode and a multiplayer mode. The reason I decided to go with this game is not because I'm particularly fond of cars or do know a lot about them, but rather because I can appreciate a little bit of nerdiness in a very well created and detailed game such as this, and you will know what I'm talking about very soon. So to give you a little bit of a taste, we're just gonna run through a bunch of features in the Sandbox mode, so let's check that out. In here we can actually create new cars or revise cars. This is just something that gives you all the opportunities, all the options that you actually have in the game. So let's create a new car just to see what there is. First of all, you have to decide for the body. You can filter those bodies using categories such as rear engines, mid engines or front engines. So let's go with the front engine for this one, and we can even filter more by saying we want to go for a body shaped such as a truck, for instance. And here we have two possibilities, so let's go with this one. We want just two doors but a large trunk. There we go. So this is our starting body, and now we can actually start molding features in specific directions. For instance, we could take this and bringing a little bit more to the front or to the back depending on what we want. And you can do this with everything that you can highlight. For instance, right here we could make this a little bit larger for bigger wheels, so we can do this on the back as well. We could take the front a little bit more to the front. Yeah, why the heck not? We don't have to make a vehicle the way you would actually do it in real life. But you get the basic idea. We can also always influence the quality of the materials, which will most of all give us better reliability and also better prestige. However, let's go into the next category, which is the chassis type. Now we're gonna go through these options a little bit more quickly because there's so much stuff to explain and I'm really not the right guy to do that. I just want to give you a taste of the in-depth material that is provided in this game. Let's go with a ladder chassis type. What materials do we want this to be made of? Let's go with corrosion resistant steel. That seems to be good. It's extremely weighty, but low tooling costs, material costs. You can see there's so much detail in that. The engine placement, we want front longitudinal. Front suspension, we want a double wishbone, and so we want that too in the front. We could, for instance, have a solid axle coil, but that will cause the entire axle to actually bump. No matter on which side we are using the suspension, it will influence the other wheel as well. So maybe a double wishbone is actually a little bit better. And you see, I did have no knowledge about cars previously, and now I even know a bunch of terms. It's crazy. Oh, and by the way, whenever you click something the first time, there will be a video tutorial, an in-game video tutorial telling you exactly what it is all about. I'm gonna show you an example of that soon. Anyways, the panel material, let's see, we want that to be out. Oh man, fiberglass sounds fancy. Gonna totally take that. Now, however, keep in mind whatever parts you choose will influence lots of variables. So you will really have to have something in mind you want to go for, kind of a goal, and we get to that a little bit later in the scenarios. Let's continue. Next section is most of all features which do not really influence the car's performance, such as headlights. We could go with headlights such as this, and we can make them a little bit bigger. Yeah, let's just expand them a little bit, and maybe we want them to be, yeah, why not, right there. It's probably good, but you get the basic gist. We can also have taillights, and I would say we're gonna have some right there. Oh cool, we can even have blinkers. Or you call them indicators, right? We call them blinkers actually. Oh man, you can actually go into so much detail with that. This is so crazy. Let's have the indicators and the backwards lights right there. Seems about right. Anyways, we can also have indicators on the sides, you know, just add some details, some realism and everything. Not that you will ever use them. As I said, these are mostly cosmetical changes. Apart from actually the vents, help cool down your system. So those are actually rather important to have, at least somewhere. Maybe also in the front usually is a spot where you would have a grill, won't you? Yeah, maybe right there. And we're gonna make this a little bit larger, like so. Oh geez, this is not gonna be the most beautiful car in the universe. However, it still shows off the game. Let's go ahead and choose some wings. We could go with Ferrari wings. Can we have them right here? Nope, we can have them on the top here. Yeah, look at that. It's surely gonna help out the aerodynamics. Of course, there are also handles that you can choose. We can place one handle right there to open up the door. That's going to be useful. Oh, and we can have a bonnet actually, which is really cool. You can place that right here, increase the size a little bit, and it will give you some kind of a texture for the top. So yeah, you can really go into details with that. Let's go with a single exhaust for this. Or actually, it's most likely going to be... Oh, can I have the exhaust right here? That is an unusual place for an exhaust, isn't it? Yeah, look at that. There's nothing connected to the exhaust. I don't know, okay, so maybe I should have shaped it a little bit differently in order to prevent this from happening. But you can even have lips in order to influence the drag. So for instance, if I add lips right here, the front drag will be a little bit heavier. Oh, this is such a weird design. Nobody would design a car like this. Anyways, last but not least, we can of course also have a bunch of badges. We could, for instance, have that guy right here. There we go, that's much better. And then usually you would have another badge maybe on the back. Yeah, beautiful. I should have used it the other way around. So we have the eagle-like badge in the front. Let's move on to the next part, which is the color. I want to go with the blue because I just love blue. Let's see, is there a nice blue? Yeah, somewhat like this. That looks about right. And we can even go with more, what is that, chrome and more matte. I'm not sure how you guys call that. But I like more reflections, so that's just what we're gonna do. Alright, once we have designed our car, we could go into the engine design, which is even more complex, and the trim design. But instead, we're actually gonna have a look at a bunch of scenarios to go through those features. Let's open up the scenarios, and you can see it's divided up into several categories. I highly recommend you to do all the tutorials. As you can see, I finished about 5 of them at the platinum rank, which is the highest possible. And you achieve that actually by fine-tuning it. However, instead, let's have a look at something that I haven't managed to do yet, and even if I don't manage to do it right off the bat in this video, I will still be able to show off the basic functionality. The electronic wizardry tutorial will require us to make a max capacity of 1800 cubic centimeters, is that? Using regular unleaded fuel, and you can see for which stat we will be scored. So we need to have a reliable car with a certain performance, the economy needs to be good, the emissions need to be less than 150, and the total cost needs to be lower than 2200. So let's play this scenario. You can see the different levels of achievements, and bronze is the first thing we want to go for. After that it becomes a little bit easier because you have more indications if you are doing things right. Your father, former head of engine development at Clarkson Motors, penned the finest i4 engine of the late 70s. And as he's stuck in his ways declaring electronics blasphemous wizardry, he has outright refused to modify the engine with modern technologies and such. In recent years, sales have dramatically tumbled. Following his recent and remarkably profitable retirement, you have been tasked by bringing Clarkson Motors into the 1990s. By using the magic your father hated so much, can you conjure a world-class engine once more? We shall see. Right, so in order to design an engine, we first need to start with the engine block. Right now we only have the choice of an inline-4 engine. And you can already see stuff is automatically building itself up right here, and we can actually have a closer look what everything does and how it looks like. Next up, we want to go with a block material. We could choose cast iron, aluminium, or aluminium silicon, I believe that is. And they all have their ups and downs. All I know is that I think for this tutorial, the aluminium silicon will be the best. I mean, look at that. It just looks amazing. Now, you could mess around with the bore and the stroke. The bore is basically the size of this thing right here, the capacity. And I would say we are gonna lower that just a tiny little bit, maybe to 78.5. And we increase the stroke, which is actually the length the piston will have to travel. So let's see how much we can increase that, probably to about 93 or so. Yeah, beautiful. If you want to have a look a little bit more in the inside of the engine, you can simply use this slider and it will build itself up or down, you know, depending on what you want to see. Anyways, what do we want to do for head and valves? Yeah, you can also always click on here and have a little text what everything does, which is really nice. And then you can click on one, and if you click this again, the push rod, which I have selected right now, will be explained in more detail. So there's lots of stuff to learn about engine, guys, and it's really interesting. Even though I will never be really interested in cars in real life, I do appreciate the knowledge about it. Oh yeah. Anyways, what do we want to go for? Maybe an overhead cam with 4 valves. Sounds about right. And we want to make sure that the head material is the same as the block material, because that gives us more reliability. So aluminum, silicon it is. And we're probably not gonna use the variable valves. Oh yeah, you could use that, for instance, to give different settings for different RPMs. So if you are running the motor at higher speeds and higher RPM, you can set different things. But that is a little bit too complex for me, so I'm just gonna let that be. Yeah, let's continue to the next category, and here we can decide for a crank type. Right, we can have a maximum torque average here, very high and extremely high. I think I want to go with the billet steel. We want an extremely high torque. Why the heck not? The conrods, I'm gonna go with a forged H-beam. Gives us a average maximum RPM and a high torque. That is gonna be good. And the pistons are gonna be lightweight forged. Yeah, look at that. Oh man, this is amazing. This is just crazy. I mean, before yesterday, I really didn't know anything about engines, and now I do have a slight understanding what all of these parts do. Not a good understanding, and I'm not gonna attempt to explain too much of it because I'm gonna sound like an idiot, mainly because English is not even my mother tongue and I really do not know what I'm talking about here. But you can see, I can still have fun in this game and learn a lot, especially with the tutorials, the video tutorials that are provided in this game. Anyways, here we can revise the bore and the stroke a little bit. I don't know why you would change it here again. However, let's continue to the next category. And here we can change the compression, the cam profile, and if we had set it the VVL profile too. Then VVT, what is that? Okay, yeah, this is also to optimize the valve timing. Interesting, too complex for my taste. I still have to learn a lot. Anyways, I know from experience that I want a compression of about 9.3 to 1. Then what do we want for a cam profile? We can go about 50, I would say. And the cam profile, of course, controls the opening and closing of the intake. So if we have a closer look at those guys, it's those guys on the top here that are turning around, and you can see they are pushing on those valves. And the springs are then pushing it back again, and they have to do that in the correct timing, of course. So these settings are rather important. Next up, let's go into the next category. Oh yeah, we could actually also decide for a style. Blue would actually fit better to our car that we have made before. 16 valve automation. Great, next category. We want this thing to be naturally aspired. You could also go with a turbocharger, but naturally aspired I think will do for this project. We don't want to force it to intake too much. But as a result, we cannot actually influence any of these settings. You can see they are now all locked. So let's continue. What do we want for a fuel system? I guess we're gonna go with an injection fuel system instead of a carburetor. For this project, I thought, let me see my notes. Yeah, well, we want to go with a multi-point EFI. The multi-point electronic fuel injection uses an individual computer-controlled injector for each intake port. So overall, that gives us more fuel efficiency, more max power, and very low emissions. So that is cool. And of course, it's a little bit more costly. We have to be aware that we still have to be below 2,200 cost. Now we're gonna go with a single configuration, and the intake is gonna be, I guess, standard. I guess we could have more noise reduction if we wanted to, but that's gonna be fine. Let's go with regular unleaded fuel here with a fuel mixture of about, I don't know, 14 to 1. Oh, this could actually be the fuel mixture. Yeah, like 14 times air and 1 times fuel. Yeah, look at that. The ratio of 14.7 parts of air to 1 part of fuel is known as the stoichiometric mixture. Holy cow, big words here. Anyways, our ignition timing I'm gonna set to about 40. That is what I went with before. And the RPM limit we're actually gonna crank up to 7,000 because we need, you know, some performance index and stuff like that. You can always have a look at the statistics, which right now are not shown because we haven't really tested the engine just yet. There's still one more part to go, namely the headers and exhausts, and catalytic converters and mufflers. For this particular design, we're actually going to go with a long tubular header. And what does that do? Yeah, look at that. It's using very long curved pipes. So here you can see the various designs, and I think with long tubular we have the best outcome here. Oh man, this looks so amazing. Single exhaust, no valve, we have really no options there. We can make the exhaust diameter a little bit higher. What do you say, maybe about 2.5? What is that, inches? Yeah, how about that? And the catalytic converter we're gonna set to non-muffler, none, and second muffler, none, just for the time being, and we shall see which result we come up with. So there we go, the engine is actually built, it's time to test it. So let's start it up. You will also be able to hear the engine a little bit, so I'm gonna be quiet for just a second. Oh yeah, nice. So now finally we have a bunch of statistics about our vehicle, and you can also see that we have fulfilled a bunch of requirements, and we can also see where stuff went wrong. For instance, a bottom end part is reducing the reliability as it is starting to reach its RPM limit. That is interesting. So maybe if we lower the compression a little bit, we can achieve something better. We have to go with a higher reliability. It should be better than 400 G per kilowatts and emissions less than 150. So let's maybe go over here and open up the statistics. Reliability is currently 26.6 and we need 45. So we need a lot more reliability. Let's see what we can switch around. We go through the parts once again. Right, so we should focus on tooltips which influence the reliability. Most of the time also the quality influences the reliability greatly. Another cool thing they actually have implemented is that you can see your stats right here, and whenever you change something the color will change. If you see green, that it means it is getting better. If you see yellow, it means nothing has changed, and red means it's getting worse. So for instance, if I increase the RPM limit, we can see that this lowered the reliability. It did nothing with all of the other stats, but it increased the performance. So if I lower the RPM, then also the reliability should go up. We are already at 39.6 as you can see, and we need 45. So maybe we can go down even more. We still haven't reached the power limit. We are at 44.8. So maybe if we enhance the quality a little bit, we jump just over those 45. Beautiful. Let's have a look at the statistics again, and we can see only the emissions are now a problem. What is causing emission issues? Probably the fuel mixture. No, that's economy. Let's see. Emissions are probably an exhaust thing, right? Now here we have noise reduction. Jeez. Holy cow, look at that. Our emissions are 1,431 and we need to go down to 150. So we need to change something dramatically. Okay, so first of all, if we lower the fuel mixture, then we get less emissions, but also less performance. We need to be careful. I don't think for this scenario the fuel octane is an issue. So let's lower that even more until we get to a sweet spot. Ah, there we go. Nothing changed on this jump. Let's have a look at the statistics again. Yeah, we're still in the green. Ah, there we go. Look at that. The quality. We can increase the quality in order to reduce the emissions by a lot, actually. A whole freaking lot. That is crazy. Total costs are only 1,300 right now, so we can bump up the quality considerably much before we run into issues. Let's see if we can do that with the exhaust as well. This should lower down the emissions. No, not really. It lowered the weight, reliability, and economy. I'm not sure if we need that right now. Here we can increase the quality too, which will lower the emissions even more. That is good. And we can bump that up all the way to where we reach the money limit. Okay, I think we just jumped over it. Yeah, look at that. We totally jumped over it. And this actually increased also the reliability. So we have a way too high reliability right now, and we could lower it. Yeah, if we go with a low friction cast, then we lose a little bit of reliability, but also the emissions go down. Yeah, and that is how you would start to fine-tune your freaking motor until you reach the first score. And then when you start changing around stuff, you can actually rely on the score changing. If it increases, then you are going into the right direction, and if it doesn't, you're going into the wrong direction. Now, I don't want to continue too long because otherwise this video is going to be crazily long. I just want to show you one more thing, and that is of course the trimming. So for instance, in the car tutorials, you can start to trim your car. Let's get into that scenario and we can hopefully go, directly to trim. And you can see, for instance, here you can change the gearbox to automatic or manual. You can have a single clutch with, I don't know, 4 gears or 5 gears. We can decide for the top speed, of course, which will all influence other variables. The spacing, differentials, we can have manual locker, automatic locker, and also here we can decide for the quality. Next up we have the tire choice. I don't know, for some reason it is locked. Maybe it is this scenario which locks the tires and we cannot influence them really. But you can see there is wrong stuff happening. We need to influence those graphs so that they match what we actually want. However, once we have gone through designing the wheels, we could go for the front brakes. We have a bunch of options here, such as how many pistons, the pad types, the sizes, the rear brakes, and so on and so forth. We have the under tray, downforce, active wings, wing angle, cooling airflow, brake flow, quality, seats, interior. Oh my gosh, it is just crazy. This is insane, guys. Don't you think? I think so. The information is just so overwhelmingly vast that, I don't know, it's really a nerd thing. And if you are into cars, it's definitely something for you. And if you want to learn more about cars just like me, but not necessarily in real life, this is also for you. Right now the price is a little bit steep. It's more like an early access Kickstarter price from the looks of it. And considering the campaign mode and the multiplayer mode are not implemented just yet, I recommend you to wait if you are not totally into this game. I actually totally dig it, most of all because of the tutorials they provide in game. You can actually go through all of these guys and they will all provide a video.
The size of the compressor wheel and housing is one of the most important factors in turbocharger design.
And so on and so forth, and it's just crazy. I mean, basic engine designs. This is one of my favorite tutorials.
Suck, squeeze, bang, and blow.
Just blows my mind. It's crazy. Well guys, so I think that was it actually for today's first look. I seriously hope you enjoyed it. It is really a different type of game than I usually launch on my channel, but every now and then there's just one of these simulation games which takes everything to the next level, and I think this is one of them. However guys, let me know what you think down in the comments section. Don't forget to support the video, have a great time, and hopefully I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Bye bye.